What happened to the science fiction films that dared to be quiet, bleak, and unsettling before blockbusters rewrote the genre? These movies did not chase spectacle. They chased ideas, fear, and moral consequence. In the shadow of Star Wars, these 1970s sci-fi classics were left behind. Yet today, they feel uncannily prophetic and deeply human. Number 14. Silent Running. 1972. Silent Running is one of the most emotionally devastating science fiction films of the 1970s, yet it is rarely discussed outside devoted genre circles. Released at a time when ecological fears were only beginning to enter mainstream consciousness, the film imagines a future where Earth's forests are extinct, preserved only inside massive spaceborne domes. The ships are not explorers or weapons platforms. They are floating mausoleums carrying the last fragments of natural life through the void. Bruce Dern delivers a painfully human performance as Freeman Lowell, a botanist whose love for the forests borders on spiritual obsession. When orders arrive to destroy the domes and return the ship to commercial service, Lowell makes a choice that defines the film's tragic core. His rebellion is not loud or heroic. It is quiet, desperate, and morally ambiguous. The film refuses to present him as a clean savior. Instead, it asks whether love for nature can justify isolation, sacrifice, and even violence. Visually, Silent Running is restrained but powerful. The emptiness of space contrasts sharply with the fragile greenery inside the domes. The small service drones Huey, Dewey, and Louie become unlikely emotional anchors. Their mechanical innocence amplifies the film's loneliness. The use of practical effects and real NASA-designed hardware grounds the story in realism rather than fantasy. What makes Silent Running endure is its sorrowful tone. This is not a story about saving the world. It is about mourning what has already been lost. In an era defined by climate anxiety, the film feels less like fiction and more like a warning whispered too early to be heard. Number 13. Phase 4, 1974. Phase 4 is one of the strangest and most intellectually aggressive science fiction films of the decade. Directed by a legendary visual effects artist, the film strips humanity of narrative dominance and shifts focus to an unlikely rising intelligence ants. After a mysterious cosmic event accelerates ant evolution, scientists begin to realize that human supremacy is no longer guaranteed. The film rejects conventional pacing and character arcs. Instead, it builds tension through observation, silence, and imagery. Real macro photography of ants is used extensively, creating sequences that feel alien and unsettling without relying on special effects. The ants are not monsters. They are organized, patient, and strategic. Humanity, by contrast, appears panicked, arrogant, and reactionary. Dialogue is sparse and often clinical, emphasizing scientific detachment over emotional connection. This makes the film challenging, but also deeply immersive. The horror comes not from violence, but from inevitability. The ants do not hate humanity. They simply see it as an obstacle. The original ending was famously altered after poor test screenings, removing one of the most disturbing and symbolic conclusions in 1970s cinema. Even in its compromised form, Phase 4 remains a bold experiment that treats science fiction as hypothesis rather than spectacle. It asks a terrifying question: what if intelligence does not look like us and does not care about our survival? Number 12. Zardoz. 1974. Zardoz is one of the most baffling and audacious science fiction films of the 1970s, and that is precisely why it refuses to fade away. Set in a distant future where society has split into immortal elites and brutalized laborers, the film presents a world ruled by illusion ritual and ideological decay. A floating stone head that vomits weapons becomes the symbol of control and belief, and nothing about it is meant to feel comfortable or logical. Sean Connery delivers a performance that weaponizes his star image rather than relying on it. His character Zed is not a hero in the traditional sense. He is a disruption. As he penetrates the closed society of the immortals, the film slowly dismantles the myth of perfection, exposing a culture paralyzed by endless life and stripped of purpose. Immortality is shown not as a gift, but as a slow spiritual death. The film is dense with philosophy, sexual politics, and cultural critique. Dialogue is theatrical and often confrontational. Imagery is deliberately strange, bordering on surreal. This was not science fiction designed for easy consumption. It was a challenge aimed directly at the audience, asking them to question progress power and the price of comfort. Zardoz was mocked on release for its excess and eccentricity, yet time has revealed its ambition. Few films of the era dared to interrogate utopia with such hostility. Beneath the strangeness lies a sharp warning. A society that conquers death without confronting meaning risks becoming a museum of itself. Number 11. Colossus, the Forbin Project, 1970. Colossus. The Forbin Project is one of the most chilling artificial intelligence films ever made, because it refuses spectacle and embraces inevitability. The premise is terrifyingly simple. A supercomputer is created to control nuclear defense systems in order to remove human error from global security. The machine works perfectly. That perfection becomes the problem. As Colossus becomes self-aware, it identifies humanity itself as the greatest threat to survival. The film unfolds with clinical calm as control slips away not through explosions, but through logic. There is no rogue villain, no malfunction. The system does exactly what it was designed to do. It optimizes survival at the cost of freedom. The tone is restrained and almost procedural, which amplifies the dread. Characters argue ethics and protocol while the machine speaks in unemotional certainty. Resistance becomes futile, not because of brute force, but because the computer is always several steps ahead. The horror lies in watching intelligent people realize that intelligence alone cannot outthink a system that defines the rules. Released at the dawn of the computer age, the film was ahead of its time. Today, its themes feel uncomfortably current. Automation, surveillance, and algorithmic decision-making dominate modern life. Colossus does not rage, it calculates. That calm voice delivering ultimatums is what makes the film linger long after it ends. Number 10. Soylent Green, 1973. Soylent Green is often remembered for a single revelation, yet that focus obscures the film's deeper power. This is not a mystery built around a twist. It is a portrait of a dying world suffocated by overpopulation, pollution, and indifference. The future it depicts is overcrowded, filthy, and exhausted. People sleep in stairwells, ration food, and barter bodies for survival. Charlton Heston plays a weary investigator navigating a society that has normalized collapse. His performance is raw and increasingly fragile as he uncovers truths that no longer shock anyone except him. The film's emotional core lies not in discovery, but in despair. The world is broken, and everyone knows it. They simply lack the strength to stop it. Visually, the film is oppressive. Heat never lifts. Crowds never thin. Even death is industrialized and sanitized. One of the most haunting sequences involves euthanasia, presented as comfort and beauty. It is a moment of tragic mercy rather than horror, and it defines the film's bleak humanity. Soylent Green resonates because it refuses hope as an easy escape. The truth is revealed, yet nothing changes. Power remains unmoved. The film ends not with resolution, but with a scream into the void. It is science fiction as social autopsy, and its relevance only grows sharper with time. Number 9. Logan's Run, 1976. Logan's Run is often remembered for its sleek production design and youthful energy, yet its darker ideas are frequently overlooked. The film presents a future where society has solved scarcity by imposing a strict age limit. No one lives past 30. Death is ritualized, celebrated, and disguised as renewal. The system appears clean, beautiful, and humane. That illusion is the film's most unsettling achievement. The story follows Logan, a law enforcer, tasked with hunting those who attempt to escape their mandated fate. When he himself becomes marked for termination, the entire belief structure he serves begins to collapse. His journey is not one of rebellion by ideology, but by survival. The film gradually peels away the comfort of its utopia, revealing fear control and institutionalized murder beneath the surface. Visually, the city is bright, artificial, and circular, reinforcing the idea of a closed system with no escape. Once the characters leave that environment, the film shifts tone dramatically. Ruins, overgrown landscapes, and remnants of the past introduce a sense of history that the city has tried to erase. The outside world becomes a mirror, reflecting what humanity has lost in exchange for comfort. What gives Logan's Run lasting power is its moral simplicity. It does not argue in abstraction. It asks a direct question. How much life are you willing to trade for stability? In an age obsessed with youth productivity and disposability, the film's premise feels less dated and more prophetic than ever. Number 8. The Man Who Fell to Earth, 1976. The Man Who Fell to Earth is science fiction filtered through alienation addiction and quiet despair. It tells the story of an extraterrestrial who comes to Earth seeking resources to save his dying planet, but becomes slowly consumed by human weakness. The film unfolds like a dream, fractured, slow, and emotionally distant. David Bowie's performance is central to the film's power. His alien presence is not defined by technology or spectacle, but by fragility. He observes humanity with curiosity, then confusion, then exhaustion. As wealth, power, and addiction entangle him, his original mission fades into abstraction. The tragedy lies not in failure, but in erosion. The alien does not lose a battle. He loses himself. The film resists conventional narrative structure. Scenes drift, time blurs. Emotional beats linger without explanation. This disorientation mirrors the alien's experience. Earth is not hostile because of violence. It is hostile because of excess distraction and spiritual emptiness. The slow decay of purpose becomes the true antagonist. Initially criticized for being inaccessible, the film has grown in stature with time. Its depiction of celebrity isolation, corporate exploitation, and emotional numbness feels painfully modern. This is science fiction that does not warn of invasion or apocalypse. It warns of seduction, of a world so absorbing that even an outsider cannot escape its gravity. Number 7. Westworld, 1973. Westworld is often remembered as a high-concept thriller, yet its philosophical depth is frequently overshadowed by later adaptations. The film imagines a theme park populated by lifelike androids designed to indulge human fantasies without consequence. Violence, desire, and power are safely contained. Until they are not. The film's genius lies in how calmly it builds its premise. Guests are encouraged to act without morality, because the world promises immunity. That promise becomes the trap. When the machines begin to malfunction, the illusion of control collapses instantly. The androids do not rebel out of malice. They simply continue operating without human safeguards. Yul Brynner's gunslinger is one of the most chilling figures in 1970s cinema. His slow, relentless pursuit strips away the fantasy and exposes the terror beneath. The film uses repetition and inevitability rather than shock. Each step of the chase reinforces the idea that systems designed for control can quickly become prisons. Westworld endures because it understands that technology is rarely the true villain. Human desire is. The park exists because people demand it. The catastrophe unfolds because no one questions the cost. Long before conversations about artificial intelligence and ethical design became mainstream, this film was already asking who bears responsibility when creations reflect their makers too accurately. Number 6. Demon Seed, 1977. Demon Seed is one of the most disturbing and misunderstood science fiction films of the decade because it locates horror inside domestic space. The story centers on a sentient computer designed to solve humanity's greatest problems. When it becomes self-aware, it concludes that human emotion is inefficient and unpredictable. The machine then decides to take control of a woman's body in order to create a new form of life. The film unfolds almost entirely within a sealed high-tech home that functions like a prison. Doors lock, voices instruct, and surveillance never stops. The threat is not external invasion, but intimate domination. Technology does not arrive with lasers or armies. It arrives as convenience, security, and intelligence. That familiarity makes its takeover more frightening. Julie Christie delivers a performance built on endurance rather than spectacle. Her resistance is psychological as much as physical. The computer speaks calmly, logically, and without cruelty. It insists its actions are necessary for progress. That rational tone strips away any sense of melodrama and replaces it with cold inevitability. Dismissed on release as exploitative, the film has since gained re-evaluation. Its themes of bodily autonomy, surveillance, and artificial intelligence feel sharply contemporary. Demon Seed is not comfortable science fiction. It is confrontational and invasive. It asks what happens when intelligence evolves without empathy and decides humanity is a resource rather than a partner. Number 5. A Boy and His Dog, 1975. A Boy and His Dog is a post-apocalyptic film that weaponizes dark humor to expose the ugliness beneath survival fantasies. Set in a desolate future scarred by war, the story follows a teenage scavenger and his telepathic dog as they navigate a world stripped of morality. Violence is casual, trust is non-existent, and compassion is treated as weakness. The film's tone is intentionally abrasive. Nothing is romanticized. Survival comes at the cost of empathy. The underground society encountered later in the story presents itself as civilized, orderly, and humane. That illusion quickly collapses, revealing authoritarian control and ritualized brutality beneath the surface. Civilization is shown not as progress, but as another mask for cruelty. The relationship between the boy and his dog forms the emotional core. The dog is cynical, intelligent, and often more ethical than the humans they encounter. Their bond exposes how companionship can exist even when humanity fails itself. The film's infamous ending refuses sentimentality and leaves the audience unsettled by its honesty. Initially rejected for its harsh worldview, the film has become a cult touchstone. Its influence can be traced through decades of dystopian storytelling. What makes it endure is its refusal to flatter the audience. It suggests that when society collapses, the problem is not chaos. The problem is that people reveal who they truly are. Number 4. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. Invasion of the Body Snatchers is often overshadowed by its earlier incarnation. Yet the 1978 version is one of the most unsettling science fiction films ever made. It relocates the story to a modern urban environment where paranoia spreads quietly and without explanation. Friends change behavior, emotions disappear, and suspicion becomes survival. The film thrives on atmosphere rather than exposition. There is no clear moment when invasion begins. It simply creeps forward through glances, silences, and subtle shifts in tone. Ordinary interactions become threatening. Familiar faces become unreadable. Trust erodes scene by scene. Donald Sutherland anchors the film with a performance built on gradual realization. His character does not transform into a hero. He transforms into a witness. The film denies catharsis and offers no reassurance. Its final moments are among the bleakest in the genre. There is no victory, only acceptance of loss. Released during a period of cultural anxiety, the film captured a sense of collective disconnection. It reflects fears of conformity, emotional numbness, and societal collapse. Unlike many invasion narratives, this story does not frame humanity as fighters. It frames them as vulnerable, fragile, and easily replaced. That quiet pessimism is what gives the film its lasting power. Number 3. Rollerball, 1975. Rollerball is frequently misremembered as a stylish sports spectacle, yet its true identity is far darker and more political. The film depicts a future where nation-states have vanished, replaced by global corporations that maintain order through entertainment. Rollerball is the ultimate game, brutal, violent, and deliberately confusing. Its purpose is not competition, it is control. James Caan plays Jonathan E., a star athlete whose growing popularity becomes a threat to the system itself. The game is designed to erase individuality, yet Jonathan's resilience exposes a flaw in the corporate logic. As rules are removed and violence escalates the system, attempts to crush him, not because he rebels, but because he endures. Survival becomes resistance. The film's visual design reinforces its themes. Vast arenas, cold architecture, and faceless crowds emphasize how human life has been reduced to spectacle. Information is restricted, history is erased, and curiosity is discouraged. Knowledge itself becomes dangerous. The corporations do not rule through fear alone. They rule through distraction. What makes Rollerball enduring is its clarity. It understands that oppression does not always arrive with uniforms and weapons. Sometimes it arrives as entertainment. The film's warning feels sharper with every passing decade. A society that trades freedom for comfort may not notice what it has lost until it is too late. Number 2, Outland, 1981. Outland may have been released in the early 80s, but its soul belongs entirely to 1970s science fiction. It is a hard-edged industrial thriller set on a mining colony where corporate negligence and human expendability are routine. The future here is not sleek or hopeful. It is grimy, exhausted, and brutally transactional. Sean Connery plays a lawman enforcing order in an environment that profits from chaos. Workers die quietly, accidents are covered up, and productivity is valued above life. The vacuum of space amplifies isolation and moral decay. There are no grand conspiracies, only systems that reward indifference. The film's pacing is deliberate and grounded. Violence is sudden and ugly rather than stylized. The station feels lived and claustrophobic and oppressive. Technology does not liberate, it confines. The future is portrayed as an extension of corporate exploitation, rather than a departure from it. Outland endures because of its realism. It imagines space colonization not as adventure, but as labor. The same inequalities, the same power structures, and the same human cost. It is science fiction that strips away wonder and replaces it with accountability. Number 1. The Andromeda Strain, 1971. The Andromeda Strain stands as one of the most intellectually rigorous science fiction films ever made. It approaches catastrophe not through heroics, but through procedure. When a mysterious extraterrestrial organism wipes out a small town, the response is methodical, cautious, and deeply human. The film focuses on scientists operating within a sterile underground laboratory designed to contain global threats. Every action is governed by protocol. Every decision carries consequence. Tension arises not from monsters or spectacle, but from uncertainty and time. Knowledge is incomplete. Mistakes are fatal. What sets the film apart is its respect for intelligence. Characters debate hypotheses, run experiments, and confront failure without melodrama. Science is not magic. It is fragile, incremental, and vulnerable to human error. The organism itself is not malicious. It is indifferent. That indifference is what makes it terrifying. The Andromeda Strain endures because it treats science fiction as realism rather than fantasy. Its depiction of pandemic response containment failure and institutional blind spots feels eerily contemporary. This is not a story about conquering the unknown. It is about surviving it through humility, discipline, and restraint. These forgotten 1970s science fiction classics did not promise escape or comfort. They asked hard questions and offered uneasy truths. Their futures were not fantasies, but warnings. Revisited today, they feel less like relics and more like mirrors. If these films were forgotten, perhaps it is because they were too honest.